On this channel, we've talked about how teachers are quitting in huge numbers due to Gen Alpha. In this video, I want to dive into how AI is playing a huge role and a lot of times a negative role in Gen Alpha's education journey. We're going to listen to some teachers and their opinions concerning Gen Alpha and AI. We're going to take a look at other sources as well as other opinions on this topic. And unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard AI everywhere. It is the biggest buzzword probably of the past decade. AI is everywhere and it's infiltrating every aspect of life, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. A good thing in the sense that ChatGPT can really help you navigate a grocery list and give you a lot of ingredients and dishes to make. That's pretty productive. But I want to talk about the negative aspects here. One of the main negative aspects that AI is bringing to education in regards to Gen Alpha is the simple fact that they're becoming extremely reliant on AI. Gen Alpha's entire sphere of thinking now involves some form of AI or technology. These are the technology natives. These are your youngest people, but eventually they're going to be part of the US workforce. So let's hear this woman's opinion and some of her anxieties and fears in regards to AI and Gen Alpha.
A friend of mine, she's a high school teacher and she teaches freshmen. This year is the first year that Generation Alpha has entered high school. One was they almost entirely speak in TikTok speak, 30-second increments of skibbity riz toilet. One is that AI is their source of truth, right? These kids aren't Googling. They're not talking to their parents when they have questions about anything from social situations to how-tos to homework. It's all ChatGPT. Second, they're not able to tell the difference between human output and AI output. My friend had them analyze literature and poems that humans made, the actual poems, and those created by AI, and most of them could not discern the difference. So that really raised some alarm bells for me, because now you have a generation that's essentially getting all of their information from each other on social media, and then AI and these chatbots, right? What can these AI chatbots and platforms grow into where they have a very heavy-handed impact on our youth and the next generation of leaders?
And yeah, she's exactly right. That should be one of our biggest worries here, is the simple fact that it's going to become extremely difficult to decipher what is AI and what is human learning, what is human output. It's going to be very difficult. And as you see from her example of her teacher friend, it's already becoming true right now. It's already becoming a major problem in the classroom. We know that college students are continuously using AI to either cheat through exams or use it as an actual good helper. In many cases, it can be a pretty positive thing. But in the hands of a younger generation like Gen Alpha, you're really opening Pandora's box here. We don't really know what's going to happen with this generation, and the fact that they're basically being raised by AI. The fact that a lot of Gen Alpha people, these kids, they're not even Google searching, they're not researching, in any output. They're basically just asking the AI a question and the AI is giving them a response back. It means that they're becoming very reliant on AI and anything AI technology related. It means that they're not going to be able to research on their own. They're not going to be able to do critical thinking skills as effectively as previous generations. But what happens 5 to 10 years from now when ChatGPT or any other AI platform becomes even more intelligent? It becomes even more effective than any other tool that we have access to right now. It means that everyone is going to be more reliant on it. And if we've seen how younger generations interact with newer technologies, a lot of times it can be in a very destructive and negative way. Just take a look at Facebook and Instagram. When those came out, it was really my generation, Gen Z, that really had a lot of negative instances with those platforms. Anything from cyberbullying to even depressive episodes were caused as a result of social media. We even had Facebook go in front of Congress, Mark Zuckerberg. He basically said that, yes, we were aware that our platform was hurting younger generations in a negative way, but we really didn't do anything about it. That is what Facebook did. But what happens when you have an even more complex, more intelligent, and a platform that you can't really monitor too well, like AI? That to me is one of the most dangerous and one of the most scary things we can really take from this. And let's go back to critical thinking. I think that could be a very bad consequence as a result of this newer generation being so reliant on AI. When you effectively get rid of critical thinking from the minds of students, you effectively make that classroom a unrich learning environment. You know, you're going to have a classroom that's a lot more crazy, a classroom that's hard to control, and ultimately students that don't want to do their homework and they don't want to learn because they've been so reliant on getting all their answers and any questions they have from these AI platforms. So let's listen to a teacher who's basically been on the front lines there for 10 years on what she thinks about Gen Alpha.
So basically, I'm a teacher, I do supply work, I work in various different schools. I've been teaching for like 10 years. I've been in the game for 10 years, and before that I was a teaching assistant, so I've been in it even longer than 10 years. One thing that I'm noticing, this generation Alpha, bloody hell, they are a piece of work. And I'm seeing some teachers in America saying this, but so I work in year 2, and oh my God, I feel victimized by some of these 6 and 7-year-olds. Like, they don't listen, they're violent as hell. Their academic abilities are so much lower than I've seen in my previous teaching years. They're helpless. You ask a question, they're just staring at you. They still can't form their letters. Like before, in a class of 30, you might have had maybe 5 or 6 students that, you know, needed support to access the curriculum. Now it's like the other way around. You have 5 or 6 students that can access the curriculum, and then the rest of the class really struggles. It is bizarre. I don't know how we're raising them or what on earth is going on, but they can't manage their emotions. They're throwing tantrums left, right and center. They hide under tables, they storm out, they don't listen to instructions. You tell them something and they just mock you and repeat after you what you've just said. They don't be quiet. It is stressful as hell. Like, it makes you contemplate walking out of the profession because it is just too much.
And there's so many videos on TikTok and other instances on Facebook, Reddit, that are explaining exactly what she described. A classroom that is just out of control. A learning environment that is not really benefiting anyone at the end of the day. And unfortunately, a Gen Alpha that is falling behind on every metric there is in terms of education. It's a really scary sight, and it seems like it's really happening everywhere within the United States and Europe. We've also talked about on the channel how AI is making it very difficult for teachers to justify or even grade papers. They're unable to really dictate if these students are actually doing their homework and learning, because as we know, a ChatGPT, an AI tool, can basically make you an essay. It can make you a research report within seconds. This really wasn't a thing, 5 years ago. It wasn't a thing when I was in school, and it wasn't a thing when most of you guys were in school.
But as we're already seeing it now, AI is making it extremely difficult for students to actually be able to interact with new knowledge and skills in a way that is going to make it stick. And it's also making it actually impossible for teachers to assess that students are actually learning, because there are so many ways for them to cheat. We already know that the worst decision that we made for students is giving them all school issued personal devices. We are not going to be doing learning via personal student devices. We're going to go back to pen and paper assignments, printed books, teachers guiding students with technology instead of letting students have technology in hand guiding themselves, which we know is been an unmitigated disaster.
So she brings a lot of interesting points, but I want to go to the end of her discussion there. She's saying that eventually schools are going to go back to analog and paper systems. And unfortunately, while that could be a great idea in practice, I think it's not really where we're headed. In my opinion, we're headed into a huge technology push, and we have been for the past 10 years. This AI push is only going to exacerbate the increased technology reliance that education and schools have overall. When we think of AI is going to be a disruptor. A disruptor in the sense that it's going to completely change the way that we do things. It's only kind of a matter of time before AI kind of invades the classroom, in my opinion. Before you know it, I really think that a lot of school administrators and local governments, they're going to find out that AI can save them a lot of time and it can save them a lot of costs in terms of education, meaning that they're going to be able to replace a lot of jobs within education with AIs or AI bots. We're already seeing in a lot of industries where a lot of people have been laid off as a result of AI. And for many pundits out there and many other experts to say, oh, don't worry, education isn't going to be touched by AI. Well, I would say think again and think about that question a bit deeper. When we think of AI, it's going to probably fundamentally decrease the costs in education. What are we seeing right now in the United States government? We're seeing a massive push to, get rid of the Department of Education, which would effectively decrease a lot of the taxes and government costs as a result of education. That means if you replace that entire department, you're going to find yourself in a more privatized system. A privatized system that's not going to have as many guardrails in place for technology disruptors like AI. It means that AI is going to be able to fundamentally go into the classroom with a lot more ease. There's going to be a lot more experimenting with AI in the classroom if we see a more privatization of the education system. And a school in London has already kind of done this. They've already experimented with replacing teachers with AI. There's another school here in the United States in Austin, Texas, that's already kind of implemented a whole AI learning classroom environment.
How do they learn? The students work one-on-one with artificial intelligence.
The educational information that regular schools are also teaching with, but AI apps are feeding them to students at the appropriate level and pace that they need.
It goes as far as historical figures explaining their own histories.
We believe that education should adapt to every student's unique needs and interests.
To basic comprehension quizzes.
This is unprecedented, and I think experiments like this, they'll get success because these are probably your private schools that have a lot of funding, have a lot of resources, and they probably have students that are more willing to learn. And those higher income students, we've know from research and kind of metrics that those more wealthy students are going to actually learn. So if this AI experiment succeeds, which it very well could be, it very well could succeed, and these students are actually getting pretty good learning. My worry here is that we'll take this sort of experiment and in a privatized education environment, we'll kind of put that in these lower income schools and kind of justify the decrease of taxes and cost. And effectively, that's going to replace teachers with AI in some capacity. At least in the next 10 years, it's going to replace even administrators with some sort of AI system. Now, whether that's going to be effective or not is yet to be determined. One thing that we got to ask ourselves right now is, do we really want a system that's not really regulated, that's really like the Wild West right now, teaching the younger generation about, education, kind of eroding that teacher-student dynamic that we've had for centuries? Do we really want that to happen? I think it's really naive to think that AI is not going to touch education in any way, at least in terms of replacing administrative people or teachers. I think that's a naive thought. That's a naive way to think. And AI is definitely going to change the way that we do a lot of different things.
New education privatization scheme unlocked. That's right, folks. Unbound Academy in Arizona will now get rid of teachers and students will only learn with AI. Sounds great, right? Now schools can save money. They don't need to pay those pesky teachers or negotiate with their unions. Now schools don't have to worry about purchasing curriculum or teachers who put their own personal touch or magic onto lessons.
And there you go, another experiment from Arizona. And I think this is as of the last year. We're only year 1 right now. What happens year 3, year 5? When these experiments start getting buzz and success stories. And then what you have here, the Department of Education is eroded, no regulations, not many guardrails. And at a state level, you could save a lot of money on education costs if you implement an AI system. And what do actual teachers think of AI replacing teachers in the classroom?
About the fact that in a high school in England, teachers are being replaced by AI. I personally believe that AI should be used as a tool to enhance teaching Definitely not to replace it, but I'd never replace one of my lessons with just a YouTube video. I just don't think it's right, and I think it strips that creativity away, and you're not able to create those individualized experiences for each child in your classroom.
And yeah, she's right. If we use AI in an effective way, it could really maximize and boost creativity as well as productivity in the classroom. But if we use it as a supplement of education, then we could have a huge problem there. I guess what I really want this message to be is we got to tread lightly in regards to AI. AI is definitely coming, and it's definitely going to help a lot of people in a lot of different industries. It's going to really maximize productivity in a great deal of industries. But when we put AI, artificial intelligence, in education, we don't really know what's going to happen. Just like how we put social media in the hands of younger generations, we could have never, have seen the detrimental effects that it's had on Gen Z and now Gen Alpha. So what happens when we put AI in the hands of Gen Alpha in education? Well, I don't know. The results could be pretty scary, especially for most American schools that don't have that insane funding like that Austin private school. What's going to happen? Are we going to see a world where school administrators are going to create lesson plans based off AI? Are we going to see a world where textbooks could even be replaced with AI for justifying the fact of cutting costs? It's possible. And to not think so, I think is naive. And just like with any development, I really do believe that those students, those top 10 or top 15 students in the country that utilize AI for all its great purposes and its power, they're going to be some of the most intelligent humans that have ever existed as a cohort. But on the other hand, those other 85% of students that just use AI to get by, to make their essays for them, to not really do the research, unfortunately, I think we're going to see an even greater discrepancy between two different cohorts here in the country, a tale of have and have-nots. I think that's really where we're headed, unfortunately. But I want to hear what you guys think. What do you think AI's role is going to be in education? Would you be worried about AI in education replacing administrators or teachers? Or do you think we're far from that and that's pretty far-fetched? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out, and it shines a spotlight on issues like this. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back with another video in March. Stay informed out there.